on Discord.
Thank you so much. You can be heard. So we're being joined by Gory Midori. Are you currently Dallas Derby Devils? Formerly? How does that work?
Yeah, I'm basically formally, I'm like friends and family of Dallas Derby Devils, I guess.
I am friends and family with them as well. Um, we work together. We met when you came out to the, I think it was Dallas Derby Devils. I don't remember which random game we did. But you were quick to jump on the commentary. Do you remember the first game that you played when you came to free play?
It was, I want to say it was Dodgeball or Street or Super
It
Turbo.
was
There was,
Super Dodgeball. You're right.
okay, yeah. And yeah, that was a good time. And I know that, well, a wrench has been thrown into just about everything these days, but I know that there's interest in trying to keep up our monthly event once things get back to normal for everybody. So
Yeah, that's
fingers
true.
crossed there.
One of the last things that I did before the avalanche hit us was was to set up an entire year's worth of events with the Dallas Derby Devils. We went through every bit of the schedule, what exactly worked for us, what got through practices, what would be a potential conflict with holidays and whatnot, and we were good for all of 2020, and then suddenly poof, it's gone.
Oh man, tragic.
Yeah,
But go ahead.
well, can I have you introduce yourself and like yes you're Gory Midori, yes you're a Dallas Derby Devil or friends of right now, commentator for the Devils, but your day job is just as if not more pertinent now. So can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am Angela in my daytime hours. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. I work for a local hospital, and I'm actually licensed in 2 states, including Texas. Although this chat that Chris and I are going to having is going to be very casual. I'll be sharing some of my clinical insight on mental health and self care and things like that. But of course, I am not dispensing any sort of official therapy to anybody that's listening or to Chris. And those of you who think you might need treatment, please seek that out with providers that are in your community, and those are available. And we'll be talking a little bit more about how to find that as well. But yeah, I am a clinical psychologist here in Dallas, Texas, and I am going through the COVID-19 slog just like everybody else.
Yeah, how has that affected your profession? We know how it's affected free play.
Yeah, so at the hospital, we are still reporting into the clinic every day. I work in an outpatient clinic that is embedded within the hospital. So it's lower acuity. These aren't people who are, for example, inpatients, there every day. These are people who typically come once a week, once every 2 weeks, once a month for 1 hour long therapy. Um, and there are some whisperings from leadership that we might be authorized to do telework, working from home soon, but as of now, that isn't certain yet, and we're just still kind of like awaiting day by day our daily instructions. Um, we are, of course, being a hospital, we have good sanitation practices, but you can very much see that we've ramped it up, and we've also, even though the therapists are reporting to the clinic, we've been converting as many patients as we can over to virtual visits where we're in the clinic, but they're at home and we're talking through the computer on a surprisingly clear virtual connection. And people who have not had that before are usually surprised at how little quality they have to sacrifice in meeting with their therapist virtually.
Yeah, I've that's been the saving grace of all of this is the internet and its capabilities of keeping us connected, even though we are supposed to be at least 6 feet apart, if not more.
Yeah, no kidding. Like I can't imagine. So I'm a, I guess officially I'm a Gen Xer, and so
Same,
that whole
same.
like an analog childhood, digital adulthood, and I can't imagine having to do this without. I mean, even when we had internet, but it wasn't nearly as facile as it is now. Like I can't imagine even doing this in 2000. We're really lucky in all the ways that we can cope despite the difficulty.
Yeah, I have a unique ability to access my my arcade games that I'm playing, but even if I couldn't, yeah, all the downloadable services are still available. I know a lot of people are downloading Doom Eternal today and enjoying that, supporting a local developer, I guess. Lots of Netflix happening. It's held up surprisingly well. Like I imagine that the strain on the internet, um, it would be bigger than it is, and yet it seems to be handling the load. So props to the gods of the internet for keeping that going.
Yeah, completely agree with you there. Like I think I've had more lags on Netflix, like, some random weekend 6 months ago than I have any time in the last week or two. And yeah, so I actually was going to talk with you about some of the other things that I've been doing. So I started social distancing several days ago. Any of you listening who have not been doing that actively, please start. We're trying to, do at this point it's, as much damage control as possible. But in the past week, Chris, I have attended one rowdy online happy hour with some of the Derby people. I've attended a
Is
watch party for.
does that mean you all have drinks and watch Netflix together?
Yeah, we all had drinks and people were doing various things. One person was manhandling a butternut squash. One person was DJing. A few people were probably watching TV. A lot of people were showing off their pets. There was a lot going on.
Uh,
But yeah, so we went to that. I've had a few video chats just one on one with friends of mine. Some of them are local, some of them are far away. Monday, a friend of mine had a watch party for Snowpiercer, which was a devastating movie that put me out of commission emotionally for 2 days afterward.
I haven't actually seen that, but now I've been warned.
Yeah, no, please be warned because like once upon a time I'm a big movie buff, and once upon a time I would joke that my favorite genre of movies is disturbing, whether it's like disturbing comedy, disturbing horror, whatever, disturbing psychological thriller. And this one was like, I don't know, five of those in one. And it's directed by oh, his name is Bong Woo-ho, I want to say, the
Th
Korean director
this
who
is the
directed Parasite.
yeah, and this is the one with Captain America, right? Chris Evans.
I can't even tell those Chris's apart.
No,
So,
I do agree. All Chris's are nearly identical, but
yeah, exactly.
yeah, and that definitely means that I look like Captain America.
Present company included.
Yes, yes.
Tilda Swinton was in it. Max von Sydow, who recently died
He was so great
after a
in everything.
prolific career. I know. Yeah, he was in it.
Makes me
But
want to
yeah,
go
that's
watch
the
Flash
one.
Gordon again.
But yeah, that was a bracing movie. Somewhat topical. Hopefully not too topical. Hopefully, we don't end up. Anyway, I don't want to spoil it.
That's the one where everybody's on a train for forever, right?
Yeah, everybody's
Yeah.
on a train. It's like circumnavigating the globe.
Yeah, I don't think
Horrible
we'll
things
end
are
up
happening.
on a train navigating everything for forever, but who knows? Who knows? It's
I
been a
mean,
quick changing
I
world.
mean, if you leave it up to Elon Musk and Mark Cuban, we might be so.
Oh, okay, okay.
um,
Where,
I
where
also.
where have you been going
Oh,
for
go ahead.
your like sources of information like during all this time?
I've always been kind of omnivorous there. I would say my approach is probably like to absorb like a wide spectrum and then to kind of settle somewhere in the middle to get a sense of what's the most credible. But obviously the standard ones, the WHO and the CDC. Um, I did want to. I'm glad you mentioned this because I did want to caution everybody, among all the other things you guys are trying to handle. Please be careful where you're getting your information, not just information about COVID-19 itself, but also just things that are going on. Like there are exaggerations of bad things happening. There are exaggerations of good things happening. I just recently read that the all this hoopla about dolphins in Venice was posted misleadingly. So yeah, I mean everybody's looking for good news, and luckily there's a lot of good news out there. But just be very discerning about where you're getting your information.
I guess do you we should be social distancing right now, right? We should maintain as you and now you're not a CDC worker, you're not a medical doctor, but as a private citizen who keeps herself typically well informed, how should we be going about conducting ourselves in these coming times?
So yeah, so what I've been doing, no more. I'm having no more typical social gatherings with people, but I did plan to have a socially distanced dinner with a few friends on Monday evening. So what we're going to do is get our takeout from, wherever. We can bring it from home, or if you're, if you feel comfortable ordering takeout from a restaurant, get it from there. Curbside pickup, of course, which is all that's allowed right now. And then we're going to White Rock, the White Rock Lake area, and we're gonna find just like a comfortable spot to sit down 6 feet, probably a little more than 6 feet away from each other, and just chat. Because um, one, it's not in an enclosed space; it's outdoors, so that lowers the risk a little bit. And then two, that spacing of 6 feet or more lowers the risk even more. And then three, it's not going to be a large group. It's only a few people and myself. So that's something that feels a lot a lot less risky, and with like the cost benefit analysis there, the benefit of being able to like have some FaceTime with people, no pun intended, and then the very very low risk of going out into the world for that evening feels like a good balance for me. I would other things that I'm doing, like for example, when I do that. So for example, if I had to stop and get gas along the way, right? I'm probably gonna be either wiping down the gas handle or using a glove and then throwing it away. That seems a little bit overkill for somebody like me because I'm not a germaphobe, but I'm taking it pretty seriously and trying to stay on the safe side. And just to emphasize, I'm not too terribly concerned about becoming ill myself. I'm not immunocompromised, and generally I'm a pretty healthy person. But my worst fear is being a vector for transmission for this illness that may eventually, lead to somebody else becoming very sick or losing their lives. And so that's the main thing driving my current out of character germophobia.
Yeah, I'm feeling the same thing myself. I'm typically a very public person, much less so these days. But I still interact with more people than I would say everybody else is right now. And yeah, I'm not terribly concerned that I'm going to die of COVID-19. You can mark that and play it in my deathbed if I'm wrong. But like, my mom is not. She's living in Richardson, and I'm not going to go visit her. I told her I love her over social media, but I'm not going to go to her house. I'm not going to see her just in case I happen to be carrying it right now. Because as I understand it, you might be asymptomatic and still carry it. Um, so we're just kind of living with the world as it is. But I wouldn't say I'm paranoid. I assume I'm going to get it at some point because it is a pandemic. I'm assuming I'm going to like show a symptom or two, and then find a way to fight through it. And I'll take care of myself, and I'll certainly isolate myself when I have symptoms. But in the meantime, man, I'm just doing my best, and I feel of multiple different ways. I feel in some way like anxious and guilty, even having the interactions that I am having right now. I'm trying to do something. I'm trying to like provide a beacon for people to kind of hold on to locally in the Dallas area, and also with the free play community that's struggling so much. We all lost so much so quickly. I'm trying to help us hold it together, but I gotta say I still feel weird about like getting two people up here to just play arcade games while we stream it. Even that level is thing. I don't know. I don't know if I'm looking for you to give me some nice words or talk me down or tell me I'm doing terrible. I don't know. I'm doing my best. I will tell you that.
Yeah, well, I think Chris, you're doing a tremendous job, and I don't think anyone would expect any less from those who are close to the free play community. I really admire what you guys are doing with trying to keep the community alive, trying to keep communication open, trying to keep spirits up. I'm sure it's incredibly valuable, and I'm sure it's very appreciated. Um, I think that you're doing the right thing. And some of the facts that you referenced, like I want to just highlight that, yeah, like there is some degree of asymptomatic transmission happening. Now, this is really confusing, right? Because somebody might just think that they have a mild headache or allergy cough or something, and that could be
Oh
considered
yeah.
mild
And not
symptoms, or even
sleeping for 3 days on end is certainly adding to my anxiety and my perceived, a headache from not having coffee for 7 hours or something like that. And every time I have a sneeze because it's spring or anything, it's yeah, you just look at yourself and think, oh no, am I spreading this to someone else? Should I be tying myself to my bed now?
right, yeah. And so, it's as it may seem alarmist, but I think it's good to be having those thoughts. Obviously, very small, like small groups of people getting together, like you mentioned, having two people in the arcade or whatever. With all the practices that you guys are trying to put in place. I think it's a lot lower risk. When you think about, like, are there even any contacts happening? It's like if you guys are disinfecting doorknobs, disinfecting cabinets, staying safe distance from each other, like you can get to a point where you're really controlling the level of contact pretty tightly. And so, nobody's got a gun to anybody's head, nobody's twisting anybody's arm. So, I think that you guys are all doing your due diligence there, and everyone has to make that personal decision about, what level of sacrifice is worth, what level of risk, or vice versa. So,
Yeah, I want to be helping, and I don't know. It's hard to mitigate. It's a really tough thing right now.
yeah, it's wild.
In my position, I know about 6,000 people, and I've heard a lot of stories, a lot of scary stories, a lot of heartwarming stories. I guess I kind of wanted to throw it out to you. I had a friend contact me and say basically, the kids don't understand. Basically, the kids they're living their life as a young adult, and they don't know. You saw probably the pictures of the kids, sorry, spring breakers on the beach, and they had to shut that down. But that's sort of happening throughout, as teenagers are, nothing's gonna kill me, man, and they still want to go party. And then we have some of us in the audience here that are teenagers, frankly, and some of us that are also um, adults and have kids that are teenagers. And do you have any thoughts towards like how you might go about like explaining it to and a group of people that don't really understand like the gravity of the situation, why they just can't go and party and have a kegger with 20 people like normal?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have all the answers for sure. And disclaimer here, I'm personally not a parent, so I haven't had to had any sort of tough talks like that. My friend, actually, Illuminati, she did get me to talk to her her preteen daughter, because yeah, daughter just thought she was, being mean mom, and didn't really get it either. So it's a good point that you're making. I would just I think the most important thing to keep in mind is that this is not about, for most people, for many people, this is not about keeping yourself safe, but keeping, the community as a whole safe. And so I think connecting it to something personal, connecting it to somebody that they may know, grandma, grandpa, or aunt or uncle so and so who has an immunodeficiency disorder, or making it something that you can connect without using that, terrifying, scared, straight language of like, do you want grandma to die? I mean, that's, I think, a little extreme, but kind of making sure that they understand that, there's gravity to it, and giving it a personal face might help. Um, I kind of laughed a little bit when I was saying that, because I did use sort of extreme language like that in my conversation, but that's because I know this daughter, and I kind of know the culture in their
Yeah, yeah,
family,
we,
and
we understand. We understand.
yeah, exactly.
Um,
Um,
I wanted
but
to
yeah.
At some point, we're
Go
going
ahead.
to be joined. It looks like he's already in the chat with us by Boat Guy Jeremy Withers. He is another of our stream partner.
Okay.
Yeah,
AKA Yacht Daddy, right?
That's
yes,
right.
yes, he is Yacht Daddy. I
Hey.
just wanted a
Okay.
partner to help ask questions, and that way I'm not forgetting anything and not just getting too overwhelmed by the situation. So welcome, Boat Guy, to the conversation.
You guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Am I on the stream? Okay, yes, I
absolutely.
can
Yeah,
hear myself, so I'm going to mute the stream now so I don't throw myself off.
yeah, perfect. Yeah, you should be listening on Twitch, and I'm sorry, on Discord, not Twitch. And everybody listening on Twitch should keep listening on Twitch.
I think another thing to keep in mind when talking to younger people is to kind of validate what they're going through, like validate if it does seem silly to them or if it does seem overkill to them. And I'm thinking more like teenagers who are still living at home, not these college kids who should know better.
Yeah, and in our
But
personal like thing, that is what it is. It's teenagers living at home and still wanting to go out and basically have a party with
yeah,
the
yeah.
friends and go hang out at the beach and celebrate in your very favorite bro country song sort of way.
Yeah, it's it's really I've noticed it's a bummer for a lot of people. And actually the happy hour that I attended the other day was a birthday celebration for one of the league members who obviously couldn't have a conventional celebration. And the other thing that happened last week, I tuned into the Luck Family Reunion stream, which is like Willie Nelson's like annual event where he invites tons of bands and artists and musicians to put on a festival show. And that was it was kind of surreal, honestly, because it was some very famous musicians and some very talented musicians, but I was watching them live streaming from their own living rooms in most cases, just like talking to nobody, talking to like maybe their one friend who's holding the camera, having a drink in or taking a sip of their drink in between songs. Some of them were playing guitar, some of them were playing piano, some of them are singing, but it was really intimate. And that's something that never would have happened
Are you saying they were
in
able to
another
make an entire?
context. So, even though we're making all these concessions and all these sacrifices to our usual routines, some really beautiful things are coming out of it.
Are you saying they were able to make an actual song like back and forth with the instruments live?
It wasn't a back and forth. I know what type of thing you're talking about. It wasn't like that, at least not during the portion of it that I watched. But they were just kind of like it's like a artist would play two or three songs, just like a micro set, and then it would just bounce. There'd like be a title card in the middle, like next up is so and so, and then it would bounce to somebody else, and you could see what was really great is you could see the buttons at the bottom of the screen. Like if people were on FaceTime or Hangouts or whatever, you could see these navigation buttons, and that just made it. My boyfriend called it scrappy. It made it so scrappy looking, and that honestly for me just like added to the charm. Like they really pulled this together in the matter of like 48 hours or something, and it was a beautiful event.
Yeah, it was basically like, from my understanding, like a lot of it now, it's like you said, it's like a micro set, but it's also kind of like an impromptu jam session, only it's via like FaceTime or Google Hangouts or whatever.
Cool. So some people are doing that where they're kind of simultaneously playing.
Well, as far as I know, I mean, people are it's still like uncharted territory at this point, right? Like this is weird still, so people are still trying to figure out, like, what does an artist do to like to play a song? Like they have no other choice at this point, right? You got to work with what you've got. So I don't know. I think going forward, you'll probably see more and more kind of interesting things like that. I mean, Willie Nelson's one of the most prolific people to do it so far, and there's also been multiple other like conferences and stuff that have like basically a diet convention, but it's through a FaceTime event basically. So it's like, okay, well, how do you figure this out? How do you get your word out? How do you get your art out there? It's just weird to really think about how this is normal at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. It's weird and cool. I know the Willie Nelson event, they actually just popped up a Venmo account at the bottom of the screen. Like the stream itself is free. You didn't even have to download anything. You could just literally like click in the browser and watch. But it was so easy to Venmo. I didn't have to log in. I didn't have to, like do any sort of verification through email or whatever. I could just use my, pre-existing Venmo account and tip, which was really convenient as well. I know the Metropolitan Opera in New York and some other places are having kind of regular live streaming of their events that would have normally have been live with an audience. And I just checked uh, an hour ago, and NPR looks like they're doing a pretty good running list of those types of events. So like the Metropolitan Opera, I think the New York Ballet, Ben Gibbard, the lead singer of Death Cab for Cutie and Postal Service, he's doing an event where he plays a song or two every day. And there's a lot of other things like that going on. So any of you who are interested in tuning into one of those, I think NPR is a pretty good source for a lot of them, and those include like jazz music, experimental music, indie, classical.
Yes, the superstar Michael Beltran, of course, wanted the wrestling angle, so he posted us a
Of course.
full on social distancing wrestling match where the fake blows never came within 6 feet, and yet they caused knockdowns anyway.
So wrestling is
This is like what
streamlined,
wrestling has been. Yeah, wrestling.
right?
This is what wrestling has been moving toward all along, right?
Right? Yeah. Yes. Professional wrestling will bring us through the COVID-19 crisis. Yes. And apparently arcade gaming as well, that was one of my personal crises throughout this, and I don't feel like I'm terribly special in having personal crises throughout this, but so be it. Everything that I am and I do feels like it's the opposite of social distancing. So it's gathering people together, all basically in the same room, to play games locally. I like introducing people to other people, and it just feels like I overnight lost every coping mechanism I had, and also every skill that I had has sort of turned into not something that's welcome in society or something that's actively harmful. So I'm trying to pivot as much as I can and continue to be a person that gathers people together, although doing it in a much different, much more measured method. Yeah, it's been very hard for me personally. So I don't know what to say to other people out there in that way, and that's part of the reason why I asked you to come on, not to help me specifically, although feel free to add any friendly advice that you want to, understanding that we're friends and not I'm not your patient. But
Right.
a lot of people are going through a lot of things, and that's sort of where I am is just like everything I did, and I'm a physical person. And in fact, I want to follow up with that. But yeah, what any thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. It is hard for a lot of people right now, and it depends a lot, like you alluded to, on one's nature. Some people are more extroverted or outgoing, and some people are more like energetic as far as like needing to get out of the house. They don't really like bouncing off the walls, and they get cabin fever really easily. Some people already struggle with isolation to begin with, and this is certainly not helping. So, yeah, like there's just a few there's not much I can say in terms of like universal advice, but even even from a universal standpoint, there are one or two things that I can suggest. One is to try to establish some sort of routine. Routine is your friend. Obviously, when there's a transition period, like for example, people who might still be transitioning from spring break to online school, or transitioning from working at work to working at home, there's going to be a few days lost in there, right, where things are up in the air. But once you kind of have a sense of what your life is going to look like for the next couple of weeks, to the best of your ability, establishing a routine. So that might mean, dressing for work just like you normally would, even though nobody's going to see you. That might mean, having your kids have some form of recess, even if it's not going to be like on a playground. Trying to keep regular wake up hours and go to bed hours. Not overdoing it too much with things like eating or drinking alcohol, stuff like that. And just having a little bit of structure built into your day, because this is the type of situation where structure can go really quickly. And when structure goes, I mean, honestly, the vast majority of human beings benefit from structure and routine. And when we don't have those, it's often kind of stressful to our bodies and our mental state. So that's one thing I would say. And the other thing is I would suggest like to keep an open mind with some of these alternative practices that people have been doing. one thing that I find really ironic about this situation currently is that we could have been having things like this all along, right? I could have been having a virtual happy hour with all my far-flung friends every week all this time, but for whatever reason, we don't always take advantage of those resources. So, even if it's not like the real thing, I would encourage people to keep an open mind and try those things out. Check on your other friends. You know, People who are more introverted might not feel as comfortable reaching out, or people who have a hard time, reaching out for help. You might not hear from them, so check on them. If you have it in you, be the one to initiate some of these things. Like if nobody else is suggesting a watch party, then why don't you be the one to put the idea out there? And then just trying
I have a lot of
to
time to kill while I'm up here. Sometimes I'm alone. I would absolutely entertain a watch party as long as we can. I don't. The problem is we're also streaming live, so anytime we say run a rerun of the Tapper Queen doing her Tapper run, we get our charity YouTube video banned because that's important right now. But yeah,
Oh man.
I would love to do something like that. Honestly, no idea is too much. I've been asking for game shows or literally anything we can do to pass the time as we are stuck here on this endless telethon together. But
Yeah.
it's kind of been something to keep me going and reinvigorate me and kind of I don't know. It's
Well, if you
I want to
if
go into
you
I want to go into like service after this. To be honest with you, I feel emboldened by like
you've been called.
yes, I have been called. So there it is.
Well, hey, if you guys come up with some sort of like game or prize sort of thing, like I'm one thing that is particularly hurting my heart right now is I'm a big I don't like the word, but I'm a huge foodie. And there's a lot of
Kind of the
there's
same
a
way.
lot of
It's just a weird
yeah,
word.
I need to just come up with a better word. Can you guys help me out there?
We'll have to think about it.
Okay. But
It has
yeah,
a lot of syllables like connoisseur or something like that.
yeah, epicure. I like epicure, but people are just gonna think I'm a giant snob, so which I'm totally not. I'm just an epicure. But yeah, like I will donate one of these fancy dinners that are like oddly now arriving in plastic boxes. I think that's wild, but I mean I'm happy that a lot of these restaurants have been able to scramble and put together to-go services. But yeah, some of my favorite restaurants in town, Foxico is actually a big one. I will totally donate like one of their 3-course to-go dinners, including a cocktail for as a prize if you guys come up with some game that needs prizes. So put me down for that. And that way I'm supporting you guys and I'm supporting the restaurants that I like.
Awesome. Thank you so
Um,
much.
yeah, there's a watch party tonight for Fifth Element, but if if it's gonna impede what you're doing for free play, I don't want to distract you from your call to duty. But yeah, I'll keep you up to date with other ones that I know about, amongst my circle.
Yeah, absolutely. And
So
if they involve the Dallas Derby Devils performing non licensed music, then I can't see any reason why that would get us tossed off of YouTube. As long as they don't mind, us sharing and not taking the we're not like I'm not looking to turn. I guess we're taking donations in the corner here, but beyond what that incurs on our stream, we're not looking to take anybody's music or rights or anything. We just kind of want to find a way to bond together. So yeah, if that happens, if something like that comes up, please include me, and I would be glad to share it with our audience.
okay, this one for this evening is not DDD affiliated, but I will definitely let you know as things like that start cropping up. So yes. Also, that just gave me another idea. Like, how can we get a karaoke party going? What platform do we need for that?
That I don't know, and
You can do that. There is a Twitch Sings category, but I'm not exactly sure how it works. I mean, I
oh
know
yeah,
there's
there
ways
you
to
go.
do it through Discord as well. I mean, you could probably figure something out. There is yeah, I think it's a game actually. That's what Ian's saying in the chat. But I mean, there's other ways to like screen share through Discord and stuff too. So I'm sure that there are people that are experienced with that can figure it out. Same thing with like screen sharing, like a Jackbox session. I know you talked about that when this kind of kicked off, Chris. So there's things you can do.
See, I love the innovation happening right now.
That's
Yeah,
the thing. There's a lot of people are figuring out, like you were saying, like how do we kill time if you want to interact with somebody? You don't really have very many options now, but as you start to kind of open your mind, there actually are options. It's not the same, but at least it's some type of social interaction.
Yeah, and I want to speak to something that I can't decide if it's just a coincidence or if this is some sort of generational effect, but for whatever reason. So yeah, like I said earlier, I'm Generation X, and the response to this seems distinctly different from, I guess, what I've experienced before or what I would have expected. So the response seems very authentic and yet positive. So it doesn't feel positive in a trite way. There's not like a lot of jingoism, things like that. But it also doesn't feel doom and gloom and cynical. Like I've been like honestly pleasantly shocked at how so many companies, so many businesses, free play included, have been, thinking on your feet, have been so determined to, find something good or to make something good out of this, to improvise, to salvage, you know, it didn't even feel like there was much of a lag period. It seemed like I just, as soon as this started happening, I saw businesses trying to, adapt and adjust and get something good out of it. And now I'm starting to see this happening like cross business. You've seen certain companies saying, "Hey, we will hire those of you in like X industry who are out of jobs right now." And I really do wonder if it's something about a generational shift where this can-do attitude or this positive attitude, but without the triteness, is kind of like the norm now. And maybe it's just a fluke. Maybe my generational angle on it is wrong, but it's been really, really awesome to see happen. And I'm not generally a sentimental person like that, so I've been really moved.
I speaking for myself and sort of my brethren in free play. Although I can't speak for Corey and Kelsey, but for myself, like this feels the things that have happened in the last couple weeks seem very dystopian, apocalyptic, and I don't know about you, but I've seen a bazillion of those movies, and I've seen how they go down, and there's just this sort of like American defiance that I feel like not in my house. Like
Right.
you're gonna have to take this away from me. Not take away, hugging total strangers and stuff like that. Clearly, that has to go away, but you know our way of life and our way of thinking about things like we need to keep we are society, we are a free play arcade community group in a much smaller way, but like we want to persevere. We believe we will be on the other side of this, and and we're going to take the ball and run with it. And it doesn't matter what we have or we don't have. We're taking everything we have because it's the only thing we have right now, and we're bonding together, and we're going to do this. Damn it!
Yeah, absolutely. And it's beautiful to watch. And I mean, I feel so, I don't know, like to the extent that like I'm impacted so little compared to so many people I know. I don't have children, I don't have dependents. I have a job that is still needed right now, and yeah, so I'm just in awe of how some of you who are not in exactly that same position have been adapting. And yeah, thank you so much for uh you know all the strength that you're showing just for yourselves and your friends and family, and also just the community at large.
Yeah, you kind of mentioned your job is still good for now. Like you're still doing your thing. You can from home. Like I'm in that boat right now too. To where boat, I'm in that boat now too, where I can actually work from home at the moment. But I don't know if you're the same way, but I kind of have this weird sense of like survivor's guilt for people like Chris and like the entire free
Yes.
play, basically staff and every other small business. Chad Civil Poor is going through the same thing. Multiple other small businesses in the area are, and I have this weird kind of, I mean, I was already a generous tipper, but like now when I'm like getting takeout, I'm being like overly generous with it because it's kind of like survivor's guilt that pings at me. It's like not fair to these people. It's not their fault that this happened,
Right.
but they're the ones feeling it the most, other than in terms of the economy and their jobs and their basic income.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I hadn't thought about it in that term, but you're exactly right. Yes, no, I am feeling a bit of that, and kind of, it's it's scary because like I'm the same where it's like I want to do what I can. I want to do my part to kind of keep some of these places going, but also I can't do everything, So
Right.
so it's a tough balance. But yeah, I do feel a little bit of that, and the best I can make out of that is just that, to to have that humility and to be humble and to just express my gratitude however I can when I can.
Yeah, I've been trying to give alternate methods of helping us as we come through this because we basically, whenever we got the bad news, that we sort of knew on Saturday was super busy, Sunday it tapered down, and at that point we knew we were in for a big problem, and we
Yeah.
already had a plan to kind of go on live, and Corey asked me, can I stream for 24 hours a day? Is that possible? And I said, yeah, I think I can. I saved every little bit of footage. In fact, if you watch the stream overnight, you watch nothing but Gory Midori commentate Killer Queen. Um, so I had the
Wait, that wasn't
capability.
live?
No, it wasn't live. It wasn't live. It was recorded live, and then now I
I
had it for
snuck in.
posterity.
Chris doesn't
I,
know. I
I
just
was gonna
replaced the
say,
feed.
Yeah, you
gonna say,
definitely were.
Angela, you're like putting in extra work, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I didn't stock all these antibacterial wipes for nothing.
right. Unfortunately, you're way too close to people skating into them, but whatever. Um, no, we had to do it on our own. Right. Where were you? Where did I lead into this? I need to know where I'm going. Sorry.
My bad, I cut you off.
No, it's all right. Um, yeah, we're trying to do our best. It was about alternative means of support. So as you guys said, you have a bit of survivor's guilt. I know I had it for a moment, and then I was given the news myself. We were asking people to share um, the video, like watch this, share the link, share it to places on social media where I don't know how to get there. I can't because I'm physically doing this, more
Mm.
than 10 hours a day. I can't get to Snapchat, I can't get to Reddit, I can't get to anything other than Facebook and Twitch and Discord, and I'm doing everything I can. But yeah, help me echo this, and I'm doing things like this segment that we're doing here with you, Angela. I'm going to highlight it. Then I'm going to post it again. I'm going to post it back on YouTube so that people can use it as a resource if they need to, or if they just need to hear a friendly voice again. But yeah, you don't necessarily have to monetarily help us. I know some people are in a position that they can, but I am totally realistic that like you've given, or you can't give more, or you're hunkering down for what might be a long fight for yourself, or you're in the service industry and you just got blasted yourself. I totally get that. So let's help us bind together and share the stream. And I'm gonna keep going until they forcibly remove me from it, and we're all gonna accomplish something together, I think, and get through to the other side.
Absolutely, Chris. Thank you for saying that. Um, Speaking of resources, before we're out of time, I want to make sure to share a couple of the things that I wanted your listeners and your community to have access to.
As you
Um,
share them, I'll try and share them in the chat as well.
yeah, and these aren't, obviously these are all widely available. These aren't anything that are secret. The SAMHSA website has a couple of helpful documents. So that's the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. It's a branch of the Health and Human Services Department, and they have um, they have one about like how to deal with anxiety during an infectious disease outbreak, how to deal with social isolation or quarantine, which actually is completely separate situation, and it's like refreshingly candid. It's like it's normal for you to deal with like resentment from family members who have to quarantine because they were around you, things like that. So it's pretty real in my opinion. And then there's a third document that's it gives a little bit of advice about how to talk to children or teenagers about what's going on. So I have those PDFs in English and in Spanish. They're like I said, they're widely available at the SAMHSA website, but I also have them downloaded onto my phone if you have any, cause to like have the PDF and like disseminate it or post it somewhere, whatever you want to do with it.
Why don't you
And
send me everything that you would like posted that's a file like that, and I can share it to
okay,
the community group. All there is a file section. I don't know that people really see it, but I can make a post. I can share each
okay,
file individually and just sort of tag you and be this is what we were talking about. In fact, I'll probably upload it tomorrow along with this video.
okay, good. And then there's just the crisis text line, which you can text 74174, or excuse me, text home, HOME, to 741741. And they're also on Facebook Messenger, so you don't even have to text them. You can hit them up on the old Messenger, and they're on the same username, crisis text line. And they are available for a multitude of things that you might be going through, whether you're just dealing with anxiety or you're like launching into full-blown suicidal ideation. You can reach out to them. And the National Suicide Hotline, obviously, if things are getting really intense and tough, which is, let me pull it back up. I want to say it's 273. I should know this off the top of my head, but
I
yeah,
mean,
1-800.
it's an interesting situation, so we'll forgive you for not
Yeah.
knowing literally everything at the tip of your tongue.
1-800-273-8255. And they're available 24 hours. Same sort of thing. Like, it is called the Suicide Prevention Lifeline, but it's not, you don't have to be, you don't have to have a gun to your head to reach out to call. In fact, we all prefer that you call way before it gets to that. And they have an online chat as well. And the crisis text line, by the way, if anybody wants to go to the website instead of the text or the Facebook Messenger account, they can just go to crisistextline.org. So.
Yeah, and if you would
And then
share with me all of this stuff so that I can make sure to disseminate it as well.
yeah, I will do that. And then just the last little tidbit as far as mental health is to keep in mind that, like, luckily, thank goodness, one of the few things that can be done almost seamlessly as a virtual service and not in person or face to face is therapy. So the last thing that people should be sacrificing is their therapy or their need for mental health treatment of the talking variety. So anyone who is either in therapy or considering starting therapy, please don't let this be an impediment. There might be some roadblocks or some speed bumps while all the infrastructure shifts around right now, but you can definitely find providers who are offering virtual services.
I guess I had something else I wanted to ask since I got you and we got a couple more minutes.
Yeah, please do.
So we're all supposed to isolate and separate. You know, you have a wonderful and abnormally attractive boyfriend to be near. What do the single people? I know Bokai is actually like he's sequestered because he's with his wife right now. Like what to those of us who don't have somebody, like the lingering, I don't know, the loneliness and like I don't know about you guys, but like I'm a touchy feely type of person and not a unconsensual, but if I know you and we're on that level, I like to give hugs. Like a physical interaction is something that like I personally use to recharge, and I find myself not sleeping very well through all this crisis. Not having anyone to hold, and then on some days, to be honest with you, there's somebody there to hold. So when I have the outlet, I feel better. When I don't, things are getting bleak. Do you have any sort of thoughts on that? Just sort of how you deal with your loneliness and particularly how the lack of like physical contact is sort of going to exacerbate those problems.
Well, we were speaking of innovation earlier. I'm sure somebody's going to post instructions any day now on how to make their own real doll. But in the,
Beltran is working on that
until
right now as we
Oh
speak.
my god.
He's in the
the
Beltran
usual
labs.
suspects. But no, in the meantime, I do have a couple of suggestions actually. I don't know if anybody knows, but the foster community is pushing really hard right now to get people to consider fostering. It's a really good time to do that. There are a lot of animals in need, and that's the beauty of fostering, is that it can be a long time if you want, it can be forever if you want, but fostering is by definition a temporary situation for animals that are just like still looking for their forever home, or sometimes needing to recover from a recent surgery or something like that. So if anybody has that capacity, like they have the resources to be able to do something like that, and they're an animal lover, then yes, absolutely do that. I recently read an article from a dating app that um, people are still in various forms, people are still trying to date, and obviously, like, this comes with a caveat of, you need to be engaging in social distancing, etc. Some people are doing it through phone calls or FaceTime. Some people are doing it from like physically distant get-togethers, kind of like the dinner get-together that I was talking about earlier, which, for people who weren't listening earlier, was outdoors and 6 feet apart from each other. So yeah, believe it or not, where there's a will, there's a way. People are still trying to find their matches out there. And then, yeah, just continue to do those, all those other reaching out things that you can do virtually. It is I understand that, especially for people who are affectionate or touchy-feely, that it's a poor substitute, but it's still better than nothing. And you might be surprised at how much intimacy you might be able to strike up, especially when a whole group of people are going through something together. Like this is like, scientifically, this is going to bond people. Going through stressful events together. And so even if there isn't a physical proximity, there might be that intimacy happening. I also
I know
listen.
I've said I love you to perfect strangers so much this past week, so I can understand.
Right, yeah. And just one other thought that I had off the top of my head. I, I, I heard a really interesting NPR story yesterday about music, and how music can stimulate the release of oxytocin, which is, the bonding hormone that we all have. And so people who are musically inclined, maybe kind of cocoon yourselves a little bit more than you typically would in the music that you like, the concerts that that we were talking about earlier, that might be streaming, even sharing something like that with somebody over the miles. So yeah, music could be also a good self-care tool.
And then when you get really
That's all
good,
I
you can
got.
pull a Willie Nelson and broadcast it on Google Hangout.
Yeah, exactly, and like rack up on Venmo.
And I know people are trying to stream games as well. Like a lot of us
Yeah,
are
that's
caught.
blowing up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
that's getting more and more people doing that, more and more YouTube uploads. Because like, what are these people that like run weekly tournaments and stuff gonna do? Like, they gotta keep content.
Well, yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep content for 12 hours at a time. So if anybody has the inclination to do that, then I'll facilitate it as much as I can. I have the equipment here that I'm sort of tied to. So we can stream if you're good at this arcade game or that arcade game, and you're just one individual person. I'll put you in the James Bond bio treatment facility to where I feel safe enough, and we'll just stream something. Like, to be honest with you, we had a little first to 10 set going between about four of us on ST last night, and I wouldn't mind doing it again. If you have that inclination, if you want to stream with us, if you want to be a part of the conversation remotely, like we're doing now, absolutely. Willing to do it, need to do it. We're all in this together, and I want to do as much as we can. I can't. I have too much. I'm a one man show none of the time. So having been asked to be run a 24-hour stream for forever without a job is a difficult task, to say the least. So feel free to help me and give me your
I can do
ideas.
streaming cooking shows or streaming cooking lessons for
I
people for
am not
people who
saying
are
no
stuck
to
inside.
anything.
Yeah, people who are stuck inside and maybe don't have the cooking gift. Yeah, I can showcase easy recipes, stuff like that.
Yeah, and I wanted to say thank you so very, very much for joining us, Gory, Angela. Um, it's an honor to know you. You're one of my most valued and trusted friends. So to share the reasons why I trust you with all of the audience here today and all the people who will be reached by it, when I post it up later. Thank you so much for taking your time and joining us.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun and an honor. Thank you for inviting me on. I don't have I don't have a lot of wisdom, but I have my tiny little bits, and hopefully the some piece of information or another would have been helpful, or at the very least encouraging to those of you out there who are struggling right now. So
Yeah,
thank
I
you
just
for
want to
having me.
point out, thanks for pointing out the mental health aspect of this too. It's kind of maybe an overlooked part, and it's really, really important, especially as people are literally in isolation for these long periods of time. So I just wanted to thank you for pointing that out. It's something that goes overlooked a lot of the time.
Yeah, of course, and thank you to Chris for being able to identify that and give that a platform. I mean, isolation is difficult even in the best of times, and right now when it's prescribed and universal, it can be really hard on a lot of people.
And
So
instant with no warning either.
No kidding.
yeah.
Yeah.
All
All right.
right,
Thank you so much. Let's play some arcade games on the other side of all this madness.
all right. Take care, both of you. It's good to talk to you, and I'll talk to you again soon.
Bye bye.
I
Thank you so much. And thank you, Jeremy, for joining me for as much as you could there.
Yeah, like I said, I'm literally just holed up here with Leslie, and she's literally been playing Animal Crossing nonstop. So this game came out at least at the perfect time for the madness going on now. So,
Quick review.
well, she's played it nonstop, so that's a that's a good start. I played it mostly yesterday too. We had the day planned off work for a long time specifically for the game. So we I think she basically destroyed her island's ecosystem already because she caught every fish possible, it seems. So yeah, she's well on her way to having this gigantic mansion on this island.
Did
Yeah, it's
uh
a lot
did
of
did,
fun.
did you get two copies? Do you share it? What do you do?
Yeah, so apparently, and a friend of mine actually just sent me a message earlier. She and her boyfriend were sharing a copy, and she said this is impossible, so she went and bought her own copy because they each had their own Switch. So yeah, we wound up getting our own copies because we have our own Switches. And then, in fact, funny story. So whenever they announced the specific edition Animal Crossing Switch that was going to come out, I was actually at Richardson that night. I was playing ST, and I happened to be taking a break. And I checked my message, and Leslie was messaging me, freaking out, saying, "Oh my God, they just announced this. I don't know if I want it though, because we had already had two Switches at the time." So that I already knew, like, okay, I'm going to pre-order this and buy it right now because she's going to want it. So thankfully, I did that because you couldn't find it anywhere. So we wound up getting a special edition Switch, and I sold my original launch one. I actually wound up selling that to Nate. So circle of life.
Yeah, and Nate's been joining us throughout this whole ordeal. He's been very supportive, as have you, Jeremy, and everybody. I can't thank you guys enough. If you want to contribute monetarily, there's a link up there, freeplayinc.com/save the arcade. But if you want to contribute without spending a dime, just spread this thing around that we're still going at it locally. Um, we're still trying to do everything we can to support the community, and we're like family here. Every one of us is like family. We know each other. We've met each other. We love each other. I'm looking at Akagi in the chat, Sam out in California, and like we all have great memories of him. We're
It
all
was great to
together.
see him during the Cali qual.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're family, and we have time for you. If you want to come in and you're craving that sort of social interaction of friends and family in the Dallas area, and kind of like whatever, we're gonna be here for you. So come on in, share the link. Yeah, help me get the word out there that we are trying to hold the light up so that we can all get together.